Hello everyone, Dr. Alan Mandell here. Welcome back to my channel, Science of Healing. When people talk about intimacy, they often think it begins in the bedroom. But science shows something very different. True emotional and physical connection often begins with something far more subtle, a simple kiss placed in the right spot. According to many relationship and health experts, including insights often discussed by wellness educators, certain areas of the body are filled with sensitive nerve endings that can trigger powerful emotional and physiological responses. These responses are not just romantic, they are deeply biological. When stimulated through gentle touch or kissing, they activate brain chemicals linked to bonding, trust, and attraction. There are three main points. I will describe them one by one. First point is emotional intimacy starts with gentle affection. There is a moment in every relationship that most people overlook. A moment so small, so quiet, that it barely registers in memory. A gentle kiss placed on the forehead. A soft kiss on the cheek before leaving the house. A brief moment of affection that lasts only seconds. Yet according to relationship and wellness educator Dr. Alan Mandell, these simple gestures may hold more power over emotional intimacy than most couples ever realize. Because beneath the surface of that tiny moment, a powerful biological reaction begins to unfold inside the brain. Science has revealed something fascinating about human connection. When affectionate touch happens, especially gentle kissing, the brain immediately releases a hormone called oxytocin. Researchers often call it the bonding hormone or the love hormone, but its real power goes much deeper. Oxytocin lowers stress, reduces anxiety, and strengthens emotional trust between two people. In fact, neuroscientists have found that oxytocin directly suppresses the stress hormone cortisol, which means a simple, affectionate kiss can literally calm the nervous system. In other words, emotional intimacy is not just romantic, it is biological. Now imagine this. A woman has had a long, exhausting day. Her mind is full of worries, responsibilities, and stress. Her body is carrying tension she may not even realize is there. In that moment, words may not be enough to change how she feels, but a gentle, sincere kiss on the forehead can trigger a cascade of neurological signals telling her brain something powerful. You are safe. You are valued. You are loved. Within seconds, her brain begins to release oxytocin and serotonin, the chemicals responsible for emotional comfort and stability. The body slowly shifts out of stress mode and into a state of calm connection. What makes this even more fascinating is that the skin itself is an incredibly advanced communication system. Scientists estimate that human skin contains more than 5 million sensory receptors, constantly sending information to the brain. Certain areas of the body are especially sensitive to emotional touch because they are packed with nerve endings that connect directly to emotional processing centers in the brain. When these areas are stimulated with gentle affection, they activate the limbic system, the part of the brain responsible for emotion, bonding, and memory. This is why something as simple as a kiss can carry so much emotional weight. It is not just physical contact. It is a message sent through the nervous system that says, "You matter to me." Over time, these messages shape how secure and connected a person feels in a relationship. In fact, research from relationship psychologists has found that couples who regularly express small physical affection, such as hugging, holding hands, or kissing, report significantly higher levels of relationship satisfaction. They experience stronger emotional bonds and greater long-term stability. And perhaps the most surprising discovery is this. It is not the intensity of affection that matters most. It is the consistency. Think about that for a moment. Grand romantic gestures may be memorable, but they are rare. The brain does not build emotional security from rare events. It builds it from repeated signals of safety and affection. A quick kiss on the cheek before work, a gentle forehead kiss when one partner is feeling overwhelmed, a warm kiss during a quiet moment together. These small gestures act like emotional anchors in the relationship. But there is another powerful layer to this story that many people never consider. Women, in particular, often respond strongly to emotional cues of safety and appreciation. From a biological perspective, the female brain tends to process emotional signals and social connection more intensely. Brain imaging studies show that areas responsible for emotional interpretation and empathy are highly active during affectionate interaction. This means that small acts of tenderness can have a profound emotional impact. When affection is sincere and slow, the nervous system interprets it as genuine care rather than obligation. That authenticity is what triggers the strongest bonding response. It is not about performing romance. It is about creating moments of real presence. And here's something truly remarkable. Over time, repeated affectionate contact actually strengthens the brain's neural pathways related to trust and connection. In simple terms, the brain begins to associate that partner with comfort, security, and emotional warmth. This is one of the reasons long-lasting relationships often feel safe and familiar. The brain has been trained through hundreds or even thousands of small affectionate moments to link that person with positive emotional states. But when those small gestures disappear, something else happens. Without consistent signals of affection, the brain slowly reduces its production of bonding hormones. Emotional distance can begin to grow, sometimes without either partner understanding why. The connection that once felt effortless can start to feel strained or uncertain. This is why experts often emphasize the importance of what they call micro moments of affection. These are the tiny interactions that happen throughout daily life. A kiss before leaving the house, a gentle touch on the arm during conversation, a soft kiss on the cheek during a shared laugh. Each one sends a powerful signal through the nervous system, reinforcing emotional closeness. And perhaps the most beautiful part of this science is how simple it really is. Emotional intimacy does not require expensive gifts or elaborate plans. It requires attention, presence, and small acts of genuine affection. The human brain is wired to respond to touch, warmth, and connection. When those signals are present, the body naturally releases the chemicals that strengthen relationships. So the next time you think about intimacy, remember that it does not always begin with grand romantic moments. Sometimes it begins with something far quieter. A gentle kiss placed on the forehead, a soft kiss on the cheek, a brief moment that lasts only seconds, but triggers a powerful chain reaction inside the brain that deepens emotional trust, reduces stress, and reminds someone that they are deeply cared for. Because in the end, the strongest relationships are not built on dramatic gestures. They are built on the quiet, repeated signals of love that the brain never forgets. And sometimes the smallest kiss can carry the biggest emotional impact. Second point is, certain areas of the body are highly sensitive. Most people believe attraction begins in the mind, but science tells a very different story. Long before words are spoken, long before emotions are even understood, the body is already communicating through the language of touch. Hidden beneath the surface of human skin lies one of the most powerful communication systems ever discovered. According to neuroscience research and wellness educators like Dr. Alan Mandell, certain areas of the body are packed with sensory receptors so sensitive that even the lightest kiss can trigger an intense reaction deep inside the brain. To understand why this happens, we have to look at the skin itself. Human skin is not just a protective covering, it is the largest sensory organ in the body, containing more than 5 million nerve receptors, constantly sending signals to the brain. Every gentle touch, every warm breath, Every soft kiss activates microscopic sensors that immediately relay information through the nervous system. These signals travel at incredible speed, sometimes faster than 200 miles per hour, reaching the brain in fractions of a second. And when the right areas are stimulated, the brain doesn't just register touch, it responds with powerful emotional chemistry. Certain parts of the body are especially sensitive because they contain dense clusters of nerve endings located close to the surface of the skin. These regions are biologically designed to detect subtle sensations like warmth, pressure, and vibration. When kissed or touched gently, they send amplified signals to the brain's limbic system, the emotional control center responsible for pleasure, memory, and bonding. This is why a simple kiss in the right place can feel dramatically more powerful than the same kiss somewhere else. Take the neck, for example. The skin along the side and back of the neck is incredibly delicate and packed with sensory receptors. Researchers studying tactile sensitivity have found that this area responds strongly to light touch because the nerve endings are positioned close to the surface. When a gentle kiss or warm breath stimulates this region, signals travel directly to the brain's pleasure centers. The brain responds by releasing dopamine, the neurotransmitter responsible for desire, anticipation, and emotional excitement. Dopamine doesn't just create pleasure, it motivates the brain to seek connection and closeness. But there is another fascinating layer to this reaction. The neck also sits close to major blood vessels, including the carotid arteries, which help regulate blood flow to the brain. When the body experiences emotional stimulation in this area, subtle physiological changes can occur. Heart rate may increase slightly, blood circulation improves, and awareness heightens. The body becomes more alert, more present, more connected to the moment. Then there is the area behind the ear, a small region that many people underestimate. Yet neurologically, it is one of the most responsive spots on the entire body. The skin behind the ear is extremely thin and filled with delicate nerve endings connected to branches of the vagus nerve, one of the most important communication pathways in the nervous system. The vagus nerve plays a major role in regulating emotional responses, heart rate, and relaxation. When gentle stimulation occurs behind the ear, such as a soft kiss or warm breath, it can activate subtle signals through the vagus nerve that enhance emotional awareness and physical sensitivity. The brain interprets this sensation as intimate and personal, triggering a heightened sense of closeness. Some neuroscientists believe this reaction may be linked to the brain's ancient survival systems, which evolved to respond strongly to gentle contact from trusted individuals. And then there are the hands. At first glance, hands might seem like an unlikely source of emotional connection, but the human brain dedicates a surprisingly large portion of its sensory processing area to interpreting signals from the hands. Each fingertip contains thousands of specialized receptors capable of detecting the smallest changes in pressure and temperature. This incredible sensitivity allows humans to perform precise tasks, but it also makes the hands powerful channels for emotional communication. When someone gently holds and kisses a woman's hand, the brain receives a flood of sensory information. Touch receptors activate instantly, sending signals to the somatosensory cortex, the region responsible for interpreting physical sensation. At the same time, emotional centers in the brain begin releasing oxytocin, the hormone associated with trust and bonding. This combination of physical sensation and emotional chemistry creates a unique feeling of warmth and appreciation. What makes this interaction even more meaningful is its symbolic power. Throughout history, kissing the hand has been associated with respect, admiration, and honor. When performed sincerely, it communicates something deeper than attraction. It sends a message that says, "I value you," and the brain is remarkably sensitive to these emotional cues. But perhaps the most important scientific discovery about these sensitive areas is how they influence long-term relationships. Studies on affectionate touch show that couples who regularly engage in gentle physical contact experience stronger emotional bonds and lower stress levels. Their bodies produce higher levels of oxytocin and serotonin, two chemicals that promote happiness, relaxation, and emotional security. Over time, repeated affectionate stimulation of these sensitive areas trains the brain to associate a partner with comfort and pleasure. Neural pathways begin to strengthen, reinforcing feelings of trust and connection. In simple terms, the brain learns to feel safe and happy in the presence of that person. And this is where the real secret of intimacy begins to reveal itself. Many people believe attraction is driven by grand gestures or dramatic moments, but neuroscience suggests something far more subtle. Attraction often grows through repeated micro-experiences of touch and emotional safety. A gentle kiss on the neck during a quiet moment, a soft kiss behind the ear while whispering something kind, a respectful kiss on the hand during conversation. Each of these moments may seem small on the surface, but beneath the skin, they trigger powerful biological reactions, shaping how two people feel about each other. The nervous system remembers these signals. The brain builds emotional associations from them, and slowly, almost invisibly, intimacy begins to deepen. Because in the end, human connection is not built solely through words or logic. It is built through sensation, chemistry, and the silent language of touch. The body is constantly sending signals, constantly interpreting affection, constantly shaping emotional memory. And sometimes the most powerful signal of all is the simplest one: a gentle kiss placed exactly where the body feels it most. A moment so small it could easily be overlooked, yet powerful enough to ignite both emotional closeness and physical attraction at the same time. And the last point is, slow, mindful touch strengthens relationships. In a world that moves faster every single day, where conversations are rushed and attention is constantly divided, something essential to human connection is quietly disappearing. It is not love itself. It is not attraction. It is something far more subtle: the power of slow, mindful touch. According to wellness educators and health communicators like Dr. Alan Mandell, the way we touch someone may influence emotional bonding more than the words we speak. And modern neuroscience is beginning to reveal why. The human body is designed to respond to touch in extraordinary ways. Beneath the surface of the skin lies a network of specialized nerve fibers called C-tactile afferents. These microscopic fibers exist for one primary reason: to detect gentle, affectionate touch. Unlike the nerves responsible for pain or pressure, these receptors are tuned specifically to slow, warm contact, the kind of touch that signals care and connection. When activated, they send signals directly to the brain's emotional centers rather than the logical ones. In other words, the brain does not simply recognize this touch, it feels it. When slow, mindful touch occurs between two people, the brain begins releasing powerful neurochemicals almost instantly. One of the most important is oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. Oxytocin plays a critical role in human attachment. It reduces stress levels, lowers blood pressure, and increases feelings of trust and emotional closeness. In fact, studies show that higher oxytocin levels are strongly associated with stronger romantic relationships and deeper emotional security. But oxytocin is only part of the story. Slow, affectionate touch also increases the production of serotonin and dopamine, two neurotransmitters responsible for happiness and reward. Dopamine creates a sense of pleasure and anticipation, while serotonin stabilizes mood and promotes emotional well-being. Together, these chemicals transform a simple physical gesture into a powerful emotional experience. What makes slow touch so effective is the pace itself. Research in neuroscience has shown that the brain responds most strongly to touch that moves at a specific, gentle speed, roughly the pace of a slow caress or a lingering kiss. When touch happens too quickly, the brain processes it as basic physical contact. But when it is slow and intentional, those special C-tactile nerve fibers activate fully, sending signals that trigger emotional warmth and comfort. This means that the difference between rushed affection and mindful touch is not just emotional, it is neurological. One activates the body's bonding system, the other barely registers. Imagine a couple sitting together after a long day. One partner gently holds the other's hand, slowly tracing their fingers across the skin. That simple action activates thousands of touch receptors in the hands, sending waves of sensory signals toward the brain. Within seconds, oxytocin levels begin to rise. The heart rate slows slightly. Stress hormones begin to fall. The nervous system shifts from alert mode into relaxation. This is the parasympathetic nervous system at work, often called the rest and connect state. When the body enters this mode, muscles relax, breathing deepens, and emotional openness increases. It is the state in which real connection happens. But here's something even more fascinating. Scientists studying long-term relationships have discovered that couples who regularly engage in affectionate touch, things like holding hands, gentle hugs, and soft kisses, show measurable differences in their health. Their cortisol levels, the body's main stress hormone, tend to be significantly lower. Lower cortisol is linked to improved immune function, better sleep, and reduced risk of heart disease. In other words, affectionate touch is not just emotionally beneficial, it is physically protective. One famous study on couples found that partners who hugged or touched affectionately for just 20 seconds experienced a noticeable increase in oxytocin levels and a decrease in blood pressure. 20 seconds, a moment so small that most people would barely think about it. Yet inside the body, a powerful biochemical shift was taking place. And this is where mindful touch becomes so important in relationships. It is not about grand romantic gestures or dramatic displays of affection. It is about presence. It is about slowing down enough to let the body feel the moment. A gentle hand on the shoulder during conversation. Fingers interlocked during a walk. A slow kiss on the cheek before leaving the house. These moments may appear ordinary, but the brain interprets them as signals of care and emotional security. Over time, these signals shape the brain's perception of the relationship itself. The brain begins to associate the partner with feelings of calm, safety, and pleasure. Neural pathways strengthen, reinforcing emotional attachment with each repeated experience of affectionate touch. Without these signals, something else can happen. The brain slowly reduces its expectation of connection. Emotional distance can grow, sometimes without either partner understanding why. The relationship may still exist on the surface, but the biological reinforcement that once supported it begins to fade. This is why experts in relationship psychology often emphasize what they call daily micro-affection. These are the small, repeated acts of touch that maintain emotional closeness. They are not dramatic or complicated. In fact, their power lies in their simplicity. A slow hug when greeting each other after work. A gentle kiss on the forehead when someone feels tired. A soft touch on the arm during laughter. Each one activates the nervous system's bonding response. And here is the most powerful truth of all. The human brain never stops responding to these signals. No matter how long two people have been together, the same neurochemical reactions can still occur. The same oxytocin release, the same calming effect on the nervous system, the same emotional warmth. Connection does not fade because time passes. It fades when the signals that sustain it disappear. Slow, mindful touch keeps those signals alive. It reminds the brain that this person is a source of safety, comfort, and affection. And the brain responds by strengthening the emotional bond once again. Because beneath all the complexity of relationships, beneath the words, expectations, and responsibilities, the human body is still communicating in its oldest language, the language of touch. And when that touch is slow, intentional, and filled with genuine care, it becomes something far more powerful than a simple gesture. It becomes a biological message the brain understands instantly. A message that says, without a single word, you are safe here, you are valued, and you are deeply connected.